Okay, I think I can see now. Hi, Prof. How are you?
How are you?
I'm okay.
Uh,
Welcome to everybody who's on the show today. We hope you're staying cool. For those of you in the south and in the, I guess, east, it's very hot. I'm in Maryland right now, and it's really hot, Prof. And but for some reason, the east, I think, is a little bit cool. But today's Friday, and we're here again with another edition of the Literary Hour. And we're going to be talking today about the continued land grab in Liberia, still not satisfied. And with me, as always, is Professor K. Moses Nagbe. Hi, Prof.
Hello, Jackie. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Fine.
Are
We're
you
here.
staying? Are you staying cool?
Yeah, as much as American can provide. Mm.
Don't use air conditioning. Don't use anything.
You said?
Don't use air conditioning. Just let your body adjust to the temperature.
Is that
Yeah.
right? All right.
Okay. So, Prof, we're going to continue this. I mean, I thought that after independence, we're going to be done with this. But it's as if we're on a merry-go-round of fighting for survival, because that's what it is. It's fighting for survival. And so we're going to be talking about land grabbing again,
Mhm.
which is really sad,
Mhm.
you
Well,
know?
again, some time ago, you asked me a question regarding the finality of conflicts,
Yes.
especially when it came to the Liberian context. And I told you that conflict, the resolving, if we may call it resolving a conflict, is not a one instantaneous thing. Now, is there anything called conflict resolution? We can manage conflict. And why am I bringing that on board? I'm talking about the evolution of Liberia. Uh, would to God the the problems that Liberia had as far as land related problems are concerned would have ceased after independence.
As an
After
independent.
all, yes, after all, was it not said that we are looking down upon you, we are disrespecting you because you are still under ACS?
Yeah. Yeah.
That we tend to um, find a way of thinking that all is well, or we say all will be well if you do this. But then if you respond to it, other things begin to happen. In the African sense, we have this story, this folk tale about how rat and cat became enemies. And if I may just extend it a little, um, rat said that uh, cat had a rather long nose. If only cat would clip a few pieces off. Each time cat obeyed that, it was like, you know, uh, until it got to a point, cat went to the blacksmith and clipped a good part of the nose until the nose virtually sunk into his face. And when he went back, believing that it was all settled, rat said, "Ah, look at you. You are the ugliest thing I ever seen." Cat said, "No, not in front of me. I'm going to chase you until wherever." And since that time, it's been going on. We talk about that in the context. What is the applicability of what I'm talking about here? Here, we read that the Basakov drama, you know, you don't have this piece of land. If you have it, prove it. okay, it got to a point that the Commonwealth fought. The Commonwealth appealed to ACS. ACS was able to grant the request. Liberia became independent. One would have thought that the respect would go over, and yet these people were still not satisfied. They wanted to break that little land, break it up, and France will have its part, Great Britain will have its part. Even Germany probably will come, since it had been trading with the Commonwealth structure for a long time, will have its piece. That is the conundrum that Liberia found itself in.
So our country has always been
Yeah.
either watching or an active participant in things that were happening on a global stage.
Yes.
And so when Britain, I mean, for those of you who followed us for the past 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
we started all with a mile to independence, and we talked
Yes.
about how British traders refused to pay custom duties.
Yeah.
Liberia appealed to Britain, and Britain said that you are not a country, you're a colony. In fact, you're not even a colony of the United States, you're a colony of an organization. So you cannot tell us what to do. You are assuming powers that you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, like Prof discussed 1 or 2 weeks ago, Liberia had to go to its shareholders, which was the ACS,
Mm-hmm.
to ask them
Cool.
to give us permission to declare our independence, which they did. So we declare our independence. In fact, not only did we declare independence, in some of the letters, we were told that you should hurriedly go to England and France and declare. Don't just let them recognize you. Go there as a representative of a sovereign government and let them know that you're independent and that you want to, I guess, work with them on equal terms.
Yes. Stay clean of our land now.
Yeah.
We are
Stay. Yeah.
independent.
So people will declare their independence. We had a lot of friends who were backing us, and independence was declared, and it was acknowledged. And we thought, I guess the people, the Liberians at that time, kind of, not only did they celebrate. Last week, we discussed the first letter and the first oration
Yeah.
by Reverend Payne, how he talked about how we were in the wilderness, how we were suffering, but God had delivered us, and now we were free, and we were free to be independent men and women and to walk with manly dignity. That's his phrase. So everybody was kind of very happy now. They were like, well, thank God, at least now everything will calm down. Unfortunately, as Prof and I continued, we found out that was not the case. Declaring independence didn't stop the trials and tribulation of our country. In fact, we had to hop, skip, and dance to be able to retain this sovereignty that we had declared. So the drama continues, the saga continues, and then now we're on this path to say, well, how did we really fight to keep our land from these big powers who were intent on claiming it? So today, and I will ask you to please share the show, call your friends who are interested in this, let them listen. It's hot, so you're not going outside. So stay in and listen and call your friends. I see Boyina is already here. Thanks, Boyina, for always being here. And let's discuss this. And as Prof and I always say, feel free to put comments, constructive comments. Let us hear what you're saying. We want this to be participatory, so let us know. So, okay, Liberia declares its independence, and Joseph Jenkins Roberts decides that he's going to go to England. One thing that I would ask you to bear in mind from 2 weeks ago, right before independence, remember, Prof, they were asking the ACS, or the Maryland Colonization Society, for some money to buy some land in Liberia, in the territory, so they can occupy that land, and that money was given. So Joseph Jenkins Roberts now decided, okay, you know what, we're independent. I'm gonna go to England to let the people know. What do we want the people to know, Prof?
Yes.
That we're free.
Yeah.
We're free, and we're not taking no mess from you. Excuse my language. So he goes to England, but he's also saying that, oh, there's some territory that we want to buy, right? The Galinas Island, the Galinas, right, Prof?
Yeah.
And we want to buy that. So I'm going to go to England. I'm going to tell them we're free now. Thank you for acknowledging our independence. We're free now. And then I'm going to tell them what's in the future for us. So yes, our little cheat sheet. He goes to England, and my computer, as always, it's working a little better now. I'm in Maryland, but it's having some problems still. So I've added it to the stream. It's taking a while, but he goes to England. And if it comes up, he says, "Thank you for acknowledging us. We're free," right? To secure international recognition. So he's there, and while he's there, Lord Ashley. I agree that they already knew, but remember, Prof, in the letter they said that he must go to these countries.
Yeah.
Yes, he must go as a head of state now. So he went to England, and he said, "Yes, thank you for acknowledging our independence." And then we have Lord Ashley, who was a philanthropist. He said he raised £2,000 for Liberia to purchase the gallinas to suppress the slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Prof? So in 1856, they secured the purchase, the Galinas territory from the Mafa River to Sherbrooke Island. So it was for Liberia now. Now, when we bought the land, Britain didn't object. President Roberts went back to England a second time. He informed the British government of his having completed extension of Liberian sovereignty over the Galinas territory as far as Sierra Leone. So, Prof, the man said, "I thank you." And then the second time he said, "We're not buying the land." So I'm just telling y'all, we have bought the land, so you can already know that we bought the land. Right, Prof? Any comments on that one?
No, I think it's again, it is a more of sealing.
Yes.
Sealing the authentication, more of sealing the veracity of the stature.
Yes.
Of that little place, what it had become, what its people had made it become.
Yes.
That's where Robert had reached. See it with your eyes. See it with your eyes, so that you have no doubt.
What do we say? Your own eyes.
Yes. And the wartime thing that has come now, I think it came from Nigeria, where see it with your eyes, kolo. See it.
Okay, so he when he told them that he had purchased Galinas, they didn't object in any way. Life was good, everything went on fine. And then slide 2, you guys gonna follow us today. Slide 2, my internet is working, so I'm happy today. So you guys gonna follow us. So after that, after they have secured Galinas and everything was fine, you see then now that it comes back to it's kind of small. It comes back to revenue, right? After the slave trade had ended, supposedly palm oil became a great resource for people to start selling. They wanted palm oil. So the British merchants from Sierra Leone, they came to the Liberian coast in the Galinas territory, and they settled there where they could more easily escape the payment of custom duties to the Liberian government. You see, probably people bad.
Economics, it's the at the center of most historical chapters, you find economics, human greed begin to
Yes.
kind of manifest itself.
Yes. They didn't want to pay custom duties. So after that, Captain Drink, remember Captain Drink?
Yeah, the voodoo
Who
thing.
didn't want to pay? Right after that, say the British government informed the US government that the British Navy would protect British trade against Liberia's assumption of power.
Mm.
Right? So in 1845, right before independence, Liberian colony tried to enforce revenue collection against Captain Davison, another man now.
Mhm.
He refused, right? And so, of course, the British government sent a gunboat that they grabbed the John Says, right?
Mhm.
We know that in retaliation and took it to Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Okay. But our own a good friend, the American government, decided not to intervene.
Mm.
And the quote was, they were not presuming to settle differences arising between Liberia and
Mhm.
British subjects, the Liberians being responsible for their own acts.
Mhm.
End of quote. So like America said, my hand not there.
Mhm. But yet we must, for sometime annually, $100,000 invoice was always raised for Liberia.
Yeah,
So
but now they say the hands not there. But
that's what I'm saying. So the shenanigans, the chicanery and all these things that America is subjected to Liberia to, in its evolutionary stage was so much palpable and saddening.
yes, and then you have another man who John Harris, right? Who was
Yes.
between Sulima and Mano River. He refused
Mhm.
to pay custom duties too. And when Liberia government captured his own schooner, the Sierra Leone government just went to Monrovia and took back the boats.
Might
But
makes right. Mhm.
yeah, but Prof, that's 1860. That's we already independent at that time.
Mhm. Yes, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Might makes right. How dare you? Who are
Yes,
you? Like America is not going to come to your rescue because we know the modus operandi of America. It just wanted to get you guys off its own territory, and once you all are off that territory, what the heck? They can do just anything with you. It's only it's only when the indigents will rise up that America will send its gunboat.
one of the things that was interesting is that um uh the Germany, sorry, Britain and France, before striking Liberia, always they will kind of like tentatively ask America, "You sure you will not intervene?"
Yes, that's what it is.
And America will say, "No, no, 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 no. They are not our
No.
colony. Not at all. We're not going to intervene." Because had they said Liberia is under the protection of the United States,
Yeah.
these things would not have happened. But they say Liberia is responsible for their own actions. So there we are. And Prof, I mean, last week when we look at Reverend Payne's oration, I mean, I still have it here. I love it. I mean, there are some portions that I like, but that this man would really, and he says, I'm quoting him, he says, "We have no desire to unite with any government or national power."
Hmm.
Right? And he keeps saying that. So they really fought. These people fought for the existence of Liberia, you know?
And,
And
and
and and yeah, they
as,
fought. And yeah, sorry, Prof.
as I was saying earlier, quoting from the Ellis article you sent, um, where he said quite clearly that there's nothing short of the trajectory of providence
Yes.
that sustained Liberia and Ethiopia, formerly called Abyssinia. You know,
Yeah.
because all the darkness, all the difficulties that these two countries went through, the idea that they were not touched significantly, you know, they were not touched in ways to finally, smash that country into non-existence. The idea that it happened to them, see, it's just miraculous.
Yeah. So we come back again, and I will put the references at the end. So those of you who are interested and you have access, you can read it, so you can know some of the history, because these things, they need to be teaching these things in school, Prof. I mean, I did history at the University of Liberia as a minor, that. But some of the things I'm reading, and I'm like, wow, this little country. So anyway, America said my hand not there. My hand's not inside. So then we come to Kalinas, and I put the notes because I want the audience to follow us, because Prof and I, we work a lot always on these things, so you can see. Okay, so we come now to England in 1862. Earl Russell, who was working for the British government, informed Joseph Jenkins Roberts, who was also there at the time. Remember, Roberts went back to England.
Yeah.
And he said, my man, the British government recognizes the political rights of Liberia only to extend east of Turner Peninsula to the San Pedro River. So that you think you're talking, but you got this. We don't know about it.
You gotta be crazy.
Yes. And then we have Captain Harris, who the British government encouraged him. He sided with some indigenous chiefs. He started waging war against the Vi. And Liberia sent forces to protect its territory, and Harris's factories were destroyed. Hey, that trouble. Because soon as and in fact, in the notes, it said that when the forces, when they went and they pushed back Harris's forces, the Sierra Leonean forces were the ones who were angry, and they destroyed Harris's factories. But the British government demanded 8,878 pounds. Yeah, for Harris loss. And then they said, you know what? We're now going to extend the dispute territory from Sherbrooke now to Cape Mount. Can you imagine, bro?
Again, this then must make us think about what the French did to Haiti.
No, reparations. We need to get our territory or money back.
To say that, because you deprived slave owners,
yes,
from their slaves, Haiti, you got to continue to pay indemnities for God knows how long. So here in our setting, it was more, yes, we say it's a baby play that in that context, but still it was something to raise eyebrows. How dare they to subject Liberia to that particular punishment because it stood to defend its own territory?
Prof, that's why sometimes I feel so bad when we come and we discuss, and you and I, sometimes I get mad and I say, oh, Prof, a lot of people are not watching, and you say, Jackie, don't worry about that, because you see, Prof, there's this book, Liberty Exiles, right? And you see that when the British gave up their slaves, right? The British government started to pay these people. The slave owner said, look, we have lost our merchandise.
Yeah.
And you have to pay me. And they continue to pay. A total of, and Liberty Exiles, a total of 10 million went to slave owning families in the Caribbean. But they say that in England and Scotland, right, there was one single payout to James Blair, right? This man got the equivalent of $65 million because he owned 1,598 slaves in Guyana. So and then John Gladstone, the father of the 19th century Prime Minister William Gladstone, he received what is today 83 million, because he had 2,508 slaves. So you if you look at it, when we come to think about slavery in monetary terms, you have families who are existing today because of the money that were paid to their families for releasing their slaves. So they already have a jump start, because that money is educating them, building homes. And that's why, I mean, when I get very testy about this royal family, and and how they build their riches on blood, I would say. But I am just flabbergasted that the British government would say to a sovereign nation like Liberia, you burn this. How would they know that Liberia was the one who burned the factories? But you're going to pay us 8,878 pounds. And we're even going to push it further. First, we told you that we wanted the land up to the San Pedro River, but now we want from Shabelle Island to Cape Mount. You will pay us because you apparently did this to this Harris man, who was waging war against the Vi. Don't mind you, this guy was already bringing insurrection in Liberia. And the British government is saying, but he's one of us. He's one of us, and now it's very difficult to read. But I had a little note from Wikipedia. The Galinas River is in Sierra Leone, reaches the Atlantic between Cape St. Anne and Grand Cape Mount. So the Galinas River is an archaic form for the Kerefi River in modern day Sierra Leone. It was called Galinas because it refers to the river of hens, because of the guinea fowl that was around there. Galinas, So that's interesting. So yes, the little map, that's Sierra Leone, and I have the little Galinas, so we can see. But Prof, can you imagine a country saying to another sovereign country that, oh, because you did this, we're going to take some of your land? How is that possible?
They wanted to find whatever little pretext they will use to frustrate the efforts of the young country and whatever. But talking about how in the winning era of slavery, and the need, as the government saw it, to compensate slave owners.
Yes.
Today, even in America, when reparation is spoken about, the contemporary generations will say, well, I wasn't part of slavery, but it is the benefit of slavery that sustains a lot of you people. You've got to understand the trend of wealth. You've got to understand the wealth that you are enjoying today. You've got to go back and see the trajectory of that wealth. And it is the meandering trajectory of that wealth to you today is what justifies the need for reparation, whatever form it will take, to be allowed. People should be able to understand the traveling, traveling of slavery and what it has been able to dish into the homes of the beneficiaries of
the beneficiaries. I learned that Volkswagen and Germany, they're paying reparations to the Jews still, as they should, because of the Holocaust. But when you bring up reparations to blacks, there's that element of racism that creeps into it. That you guys have it okay. That's what's happening. And I always say to people, don't forget that Haiti paid France over billions of dollars because they dared to fight for their independence.
Can you imagine that?
When people come and say, "Oh, this Haiti, I don't know why they can't get the act together." Well, maybe if Haiti had the money that they had given France over the years, they could have built a reputable, a good country and
Yeah.
spend money on things, because Haiti suffered a lot.
Yes, suffered
You
a
know,
lot.
yeah, they suffer a lot, and not only did they pay to France, they had to borrow money, I think, from one of the banks,
Mhm.
right?
It's you know, it's to a large extent, it is a well-known fact
Yes,
about the deprivations France and sundry powers had subjected Haiti to.
yeah,
And that is again just to bring it home now, because when we go out there thinking that we are going off, no, we are still in the same path, because the
yes,
same path of making sure that these world powers were in the business of subduing, were in the business of frustrating, were in the business of destroying the personhood, destroying
yes.
the personality of the weaker countries and what have you. That is what we are talking about there.
Yeah, because if there's anything that should come to mind when you think about Haiti, think about the fact that Haiti was the first Black
Yeah,
republic to fight against foreign domination, white
yeah,
domination, and kick out the French.
yeah,
And then the French, they said, okay, we will recognize your independence, but you will pay us 150 million indemnity, right? Because we lost slave through your revolution. And that comes to today
hmm.
21 billion. I am not saying million. I'm saying 21 billion. And do you know Haiti paid.
Yeah, pay to over generations.
They pay over
Pay.
122 years. And when you think about it, they paid between 1825 and 1947,
Yeah.
right? That debt, and I'm reading now, that debt severely hampered Haitian economic development as the payment of interest,
Yes.
down payment,
Yes.
total a significant share of Haitian GDP. They pay interest and they gave France money. So these friends have raped Africa, they've raped Haiti, they've built the riches on Haiti and Africa. They've done so much damage. I mean, not only France, but when you think about Haiti, that's why when people say, oh, Haitian, think about that. Which country, as small as and poor as they are, will pay another country as wealthy as France over $21 billion? You
That
know,
that 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 that
because
was
it's like you
unthinkable.
paying your rapist.
Mm.
They raped the country, and then they said, okay, in order for us to not only recognize you, but you're gonna pay us for all the riches we could have raped from you. So you're gonna pay us this money. Think about that.
And
You
when
know,
you think about what an American economic structure Firestone did to Liberia, you will not think otherwise with respect to uh, another version. All this
yes,
what do you call the what do you call the exploitation of these people have been in so many versions and factions, and so you cannot look at one and think that it is quite different from whatever happened in other African countries.
Prof. Talking about this and thinking about Haiti. I came to Washington D.C. for a conference, and I will urge everybody or anybody who comes to Washington to go to the Native American Museum. I walked through the museum. It was like Liberia. Now, it's people always say, let bygone be bygones. But you cannot let bygone be bygone when the fruits of the exploitation is still being used to exploit, because the money that France got, they're still using it.
Yeah.
When you get into the Native American Museum, Prof, you see it is an amazing exhibit. You start from The first floor, you see the culture of the Native Americans. There are so many flags. I mean, there are over 30 or 50 different Native Americans tribes. You go through, you hear about the story, and then, Prof, you will really love this because you always tell me you see the negotiators that are coming, right? The colonists. But what they have done, they have the Native American viewpoint and the colonist viewpoint. And it goes like this. And they will say, treaty is different from agreement. And then they show you how the Native Americans saw treaty as this way.
Perspectives, cultural perspectives.
It is beautiful. And then as you're going up, you're seeing the displacement, and then you see New York State. And you see swaths of land, and in different years is listed that this land was taken from this tribe, this land at this time. This other land was taken from this tribe at this time. This other land. So you're going through, and what I never realized that was in California, what they did, the California government, they paid people to go and raid and kill Native Americans. Prof, I'm not here to say, oh, you should. It is the most, I went through that thing. And then at the end, it says, we never gave up. And they're telling you what happened after they said they forced them to sign these treaties. The American government hid the treaties for 50 years. But when the treaties were made known and came up, the different Indian groups, they used those treaties to sue the government to take back some of their land. They sued them, and you can't take pictures of the treaty because it says that the flash, the light will destroy the paper. But one of the chiefs, I took a picture of what he said. He said, the surest way to kill a race is to kill its religion and its ideals. This is to kill the souls of a people. And when the spirit is killed, what remains? But Prof, when you look, this is the bond that they used to, they will give you a bond and then they will pay you to say, okay, expeditions against the Indians. So people did expeditions. And what did they say? General James said, say to them, go to the Redondo or we will pursue and destroy you. We will not make peace with you or on any terms. This war will be pursued against you until you cease to exist or to move. So what I'm trying to say is that when we say these things, people come, I've had friends come to me and say, oh, Jackie, that thing happened long time. And the thing is, you have to acknowledge before you can move on. Nobody is saying that Liberia did not have its blood. But in order to move as a nation, we have to recognize these things and then say to ourselves collectively, we will move on, if that's it. Because even in this Native American Museum, they have the names and the photographs of so many Native Americans who fought in the American War, in the Army, in the Navy. And they say, but this is our country, regardless of how it was formed, in blood, sweat, and tears. This is our country. In pluribus unum, out of many, one. So until Liberians, look at this and say, even if you make a museum and you say, oh, the people took our land. Okay, yes, but you must acknowledge there must be a museum that we can go to and learn our history. The museum on Broad Street, first of all, it's expensive to go in. Second of all, there must be one that we can go and learn and teach our children and grandchildren.
It's lopsided.
No, but I'm telling you, I felt when I came out of that Native American museum, I felt like this was almost 2 hours well spent. And the only reason I left, they were closing.
Yeah.
It's free to go in. You can get there and just walk in, but you should go to that museum. They have everything. They have a belt. It's called a wampum belt. And it's black and white woven together. That the European and the Native Americans, we will learn to live together. And of course, they gave the bell thinking that would be the case, and it wasn't. But you see, I mean, you see the hope of living together as one, which of course, there were some problems. But anyway, let's come back to our
No,
our
again, what you laid out comprises a few things. One, it is important, history is like a tree that has either grown or is growing.
yes, yes,
Until you understand how its roots have sunk into the land to make sure that that tree is still standing, you've got to understand, you've got to create the curiosity to be able to learn those facets that
yeah,
have brought that tree together.
yeah,
To ignore the knowledge that's brought all these things together is to live in the wilderness of nothingness. And you don't want to, and you ought not to. If you will understand those things, then definitely you will create the capacity for collaboration, for a strong collectivity that is going to sustain the future of the country. That is what you're talking about. We continue to say, whether in literature, the written word, or in history, we've got to understand and appreciate those things that have come together, so that when we are talking about, again, I go to civil events. If you say you are part of a nation, the question is, how much do you know the stories that have evolved that country? How many of those stories, the strands of the stories, that you understand? That is what we are talking about, and that is
yeah,
very much important to what we are discussing here.
yeah. So anyway, come back to drink.
Yeah.
So poor Liberia, they didn't telling you owe them 8,000 something. You don't have the money, and now they want your land up to Cape Mount,
Yeah.
because they feel like they want to punish you, even though you're an independent country. So Liberia is there. America is like, my head, not inside. So we continue going. So then we come to the fact that Liberia appealed to the U.S. But they waited for 20 years
Yes.
with no resolution. America said we're going to arbitration,
Yes.
but they can't go. And when it's time to go, Britain doesn't show up or did not show up.
Not to cut you off. This is again. This is a point at which you understand that why law is very much important to a society. Some people can use law as a weapon,
Yes.
and the tactic of delaying a particular resolution of a case is one of those weapons that's used, and that's what you're talking about there.
Yes. So 20 years, and then when they finally decided, let's go for arbitration, Britain refused to go. But not only that, the 8,000 that British said that Liberia owed them, it had gone up to 17,000 now.
Interest now.
I'm sorry, Prof. I don't mean to laugh. I'm just, but these countries, we have to start suing these countries, Prof. So that now they say we owe them 17,000. So in 1882, what happened? Then they decided that they sent their late governor from Sierra Leone with 4 gunboats. So poor Liberia there, they come with their gunboats to say you will sign a treaty. Now, what is a treaty? You gave up the Galenas. Then in exchange, we will give you 4,750 pounds, and then we'll abandon the other claim. So America said to Liberia, you better sign. So poor Liberia, they signed the boundary of the Anglo-Liberian Treaty of 1885 at the Mano River. What do we do, Prof? Now, what is important, because we just said that within those histories of Liberia, is the wider history that's taking place. Because don't forget, at that same time, around 1884, we had the Berlin Conference.
That's what I was coming to talk about. Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yes, when they are carving up Africa.
Yes, Africa, yes.
Yeah. But they had that principle of effective occupation.
Yes.
That says that if you acquire rights over the land, you must possess it. You must have effective occupation.
A contiguous
Brag,
possession. Yes.
you must put your flag there. You must establish an administration in the territory. You must govern it for police. You must have order, and you must show that you are within there. You are owning that.
It's a way of re-emphasizing the concept of sovereignty.
Yes.
If you are a sovereign owner, you must own the land, you must own the air, and you must own the people. Yes.
Yes. Now, don't forget, history is like every time there's a history, it's impacting another event. What's happening at this time? Well, this is 1882, but what's happening at this time around 1863? When you talk about effective occupation, you're saying that okay, if you own a land, put people there. Put people there, put your flag there, you must occupy the thing. But what's happening to Liberia? In 1863, there's something that happened. What happened? There's a decrease of American Liberians coming to Liberia. Remember, the slave trade was abolished, and in 1863, they gave citizenship to blacks in America. So they gave citizenship to blacks. They abolished the slave trade. The migration to Liberia decreased because the blacks in America were saying, "Oh, but we can stay here."
Yeah, in fact, the Civil War had been fought, and those who participated in it, some of them were granted the privilege. Yeah.
Yes, and that's why we always say that like America didn't recognize Liberia until around this time, almost 15 years later, because they could not recognize Liberia's independence, because that would mean a black man will go to be ambassador.
Yeah.
And that could never happen. So America did not recognize Liberia or Haiti. They didn't want any black person going to the diplomatic ball or the diplomatic corps. So because of that, they didn't recognize Liberia until way after. But Britain and France that recognized Liberia, they're giving us hard time now. So there's effective occupation that they're talking about. Liberia didn't have enough administrators to go all around. That was no justification for taking the land. I'm only saying that Britain and France, I guess they were bolstered by the Berlin Conference. They'll say, "Oh, but we can take more land because we can occupy it. We have the people to occupy it."
We have the army, the standing army to do that.
Yes. Don't forget, it was effective occupation, not just occupation. Effective occupation. So anyway, Liberia couldn't do anything about the Galenas, even though these people knew we bought this. Not only did we buy it, Joseph Jenkins Roberts was in England when they raised the money to give it to him to buy Galenas. And then you come back, you never said anything. He comes back the second time in 1852. He said, "Oh, we bought the land." Oh, you don't say anything. But because there's one Captain Davidson or Harris, there's one man, his factory get burned, and you say, "Oh, we want $17,000. We want your land," and poor Liberia. America say, "Our hand not inside." So Liberia had to sign the Anglo-Liberian Treaty of 1885 at the Mano River. Okay, so that's one. Prof, I tell you, we should go back and get our. I don't care. We should go back and get our thing. So now, no, it's true, Prof. I'm very annoyed. Yeah, so now we come to France. France now has become greedy because they saw England. They say, "Oh, but if the people can take land, we can take land too.
We can do the same thing.
We can do the same." So remember, Prof. Let me remove this slide so we can just go back a little bit on memory lane. Remember when you and I were discussing how Liberia went to independence, and we said that at one point Liberia appealed to not Liberia, the people appealed to the ACS for some money to buy some land in Bassa Cove and the other one in the southwest. Okay, so they got the money, they bought the land. So what happened now is that after, okay, so let me see if the slide can go there. So, and you guys, please feel free to ask questions. And James, I will put there's an article somebody wrote that I found very helpful in this. It wasn't just that one article, but I'll post it so people can read about it at the end. So the Maryland State Colonization Society purchased the land of the Ivory Coast east of Cape Palmas as far as the San Pedro River in 1846. Remember, Prof? Because that was right before independence. When they asked for that money, we read it 2 weeks ago. We read them petitioning. So 1846, they bought this land. These lands were transferred to the state of Maryland in 1854. When Maryland became part of Liberia, it was transferred to Liberia in 1857.
Yeah.
Liberia owned these lands for 40 years. Then France said, but wait now, if Britain can get some, we want
to get some, yeah.
So they lay claim to Ivory Coast, they lay claim to Cape Mount, Grand Bassa, Great and Little Butu, and Garaway. So France was greedy now. France said, no, I want all of these, right? And then in 1891, France claimed Ivory Coast. They said they got deed from the French naval commander. They said they wanted Ivory Coast. Now look at Britain and America. They started to object to France. America never objected when Britain was taking our land. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden now, Great Britain and US objected. They said to Liberia, what are you doing? You are not defending yourself. So poor Liberia, they appointed this Belgian guy, Baron de Stein, to go and represent them in France, right? Mm. So France now said, you know what? We will give up your land and we'll pay you 25,000 if Liberia would give up its claim to land east of the Kavala River. Mm-hmm. One good thing, we had a good Liberian Senate. They didn't want to do it. They said they were not going to sign until they heard that France was making threats against Liberia. So they told this time to go and sign the treaty. You see, Prof, what are people doing to us?
It was. I mean, a lot of it was criminal. That's the bottom line. Much of it was criminal.
So it's because I think France sat on the sidelines, and France saw that Britain didn't get any strong opposition when they took the land. Liberia objected, but really, object to who? Which country? You know, because basically America is saying that you're not really our colony, and now not only that, you're an independent country, right? But it didn't stop England from taking the land. Now it's not stopping France either from claiming land east of the Kavala River. So France got their piece, and Liberia was so sad now because they don't know what to do because Britain had taken theirs and they appealed. Nothing happened. Then we come to 1903. Don't forget, the Anglo-Liberian boundary was already signed, right? Yeah. Okay. Then you had these two chiefs and these two people fighting, but I can't point. But if you look at Liberia, you can see the map. The Corrie Lahon was occupied by some forces from Sierra Leone, right? Right at the border. Yeah. The Sierra Leone Frontier Force, right? But that town belonged to Liberia. Right? It belonged to Liberia. Yeah. And the British force, they were still there. And Liberia didn't complain. Liberia said, okay, they can stay there as long as they acknowledge that.
Even if Liberia complained, I mean, given the antecedent of what we've been talking about as far as history is concerned, nothing would Liberia have done.
But in 1904, they did acknowledge it was for Liberia because in 1904, the British government asked permission to take troops into Liberian territory because Fabunda of Corrie Lahon and Kafura of the Gisi County, they were fighting Gisi country. But when the British went and they defeated Kafura of the Gisi, they refused to leave.
Mm-hmm. But of course, now you see how one strand leads on to the other.
Yes.
You can now understand why Elijah Johnson refused at some point earlier in our history to allow a British flag to be planted.
Yes. I agree with you.
If we allow your flag to be planted, it will be more difficult to uproot it than what it would take to defeat the indigents that we are having battle with. So that's how, again, this kind of affirms the importance of understanding even a one-liner of quote. As far as history is concerned, if
Yes.
you find the context of that particular quotation, you will
Yes.
understand so many
Yes.
things about the history.
And those of you who are listening, Prophet, I mean, of course, you know history. We're not saying that you guys don't. But if you took history at the University of Liberia, even in high school, you will remember Elijah Johnson.
Ah,
Elijah Johnson
beautiful
was
Elijah
fighting.
Johnson, yes.
He was fighting, and the British ship was passing. And the
Mhm.
British ship said, "Look, my man, you don't have anything to fight these people with. Let us just come help you. You will win. But let's just put our flag right here. If we plant our flag, once we finish fighting with the people, we'll move our flag." Elijah Johnson said,
Yeah,
"We do not want your flag here. It will cost us more than
yeah,
bring it down than to take it up."
yes,
Thank you, Elijah Johnson.
yes. And Johnson is remembered as a stalwart,
Yes.
remembered as a very brave soldier, always thinking ahead, always thinking ahead. It was the same Johnson who, when it came time for some of the settlers to retreat to America, said, "Well, what's wrong with you? For 2 long years I sought a home. Here have I found one, and here will I remain. So just leave me alone and go by your business."
Yeah. So anyway, the people refused to leave after they finished defeating the Gisi chief. The British forces refused to leave. So Liberia sent its frontier force to secure its territory.
Mm.
Britain still refused to leave. And then Britain said to Liberia, "You have no effective control, no effective occupation."
You don't have
According to
a strong
the
army to
Berlin
do that
Conference.
yet.
Yeah. So Liberian custom officials were frightened by Sierra Leone frontier force. They withdrew from the line. A military zone was established and a new boundary beyond which the Liberian government is not permitted to exercise
Yeah,
administrative jurisdiction.
yeah.
And that's you can see at the border Kandu, Kalauno. No, we want our land back. I mean, the audience is very quiet. Nobody's putting comments in.
Oh,
Nobody's
is that right?
angry.
Okay, I
You should
thought.
get angry. So the next slide that we have, and please feel free to join the conversation. Yes, our land, Prof. You see the land taken by France is
Yeah.
up there. The land taken by next to Sierra Leone is over there. This is the Republic of Liberia in the 1900s. Look at the land that people took from us.
Yes. Mhm. Hmm. It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. Yeah. And so as we were talking, where you have the gray marks. Can you imagine if that entire place was Liberia's territory to this point?
Yeah, we'll have more land. They've been taking our land, Prof. They've been taking our land. Yeah. Yeah. So, I was reading it. I was like, I mean, that's just, but then when other things come, like the Fernando Po crisis, they punish Liberia, but they don't punish Spain.
Yeah.
I mean,
Again, it was a black versus white type of politics that was being practiced in those days. Now,
yeah,
Spain was member of the original League of Nations, and since Spain was part of that, it was a no-go zone as far as penal accession or exertion was concerned.
yeah, but these people, they were too frisky, Prof. They were too, I mean,
Well,
just,
again, you will understand. I'm sure you just but you will understand what power does. Your power does. It's a power corrupts, and absolute power corrupt absolutely, and what have you. And this whole idea of might makes right. It's, and as I said earlier, when law is not created for the harmonization of things, but created as a weapon to destroy the weak people of society, of the human society, then there's a problem. And that was the reality that Liberia and a few other countries suffered under the world powers. Very sad indeed.
Yeah. I really, I really, I really like reading Liberian history, but like I always say that it's almost like countries conspire that this black nation should not exist.
Mm.
Honestly, Prof, it's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like they don't want it to exist. I always say Liberia's death certificate was written before its birth certificate. It's true.
Yeah.
You
Now,
know?
yes, we need to understand too that going back to the days of slavery, going to the point of whether or not to abolish slavery, there was this fear, this a very palpable fear that if slaves were eventually released, the fear of the payback, of the heretofore victims of slavery was the driving force that kept the heretofore slave masters intimidated, that kept them away from the original idea of abolishing slavery.
Yeah.
These people have grown so much. These people have been deprived and what have you. If we let them loose, how is it possible that we will contain them? That became the frustration. So after it was inevitable that the slaves had to be freed, they had to be put in a place and in a sense locked up. They would not be given some leeway to be able to what? Conduct their own lives. Frustration will forever be their view. Yes. And that was the thing that happened in the case of Liberia, as sad as it was.
Yeah, it's really, so yeah, I was reading, I was like, whoa, but let's look at some of the comments. But say I love Liberian history. You're right, yeah. And then I think in the next one he said I that they already knew, but he just went to England just for more recognition.
Yeah.
That's what he went for. He went for more recognition.
Mhm.
And I guess he went twice. James
Yeah.
Jensen, please, conversation is interesting. What is the reference material? I'll post it right after this. And you go
Where
and
were
read,
you?
James. James, I wonder we will post it, James. Don't you worry. This is a freedom of information forum. Yeah. But is there any way this person did without going to work and like people get all of her land back? I'm just
No, but
thinking.
it's even in AU, the African Union, such question came about with respect to the boundary lines drawn by the colonialists, and it was said that so many things will happen if we wanted
Yes.
to kind of so that is what it is, but what is there is there, and not so much because we like it, but because it will create more chaos than having it over there.
Yeah, that's what James and James just said. But yeah, I think you can walk and chew gum at the same time. But since the African Union established that all of the boundaries, although they are false boundaries, that they should remain, it will remain.
Yes.
Because
again, because of more disastrous war that will stay up if people decided to remove the boundaries.
Yeah. So Prof and I, we do a lot of research. We find papers and we discuss. And this one was actually written by George Ellis. And George
Yeah,
Ellis,
George Ellis.
interesting young man. He was a African American, and he was the secretary of the American delegation to Liberia. He died in, I think, 1919. You know, he was one of several African American officials and ministers, many of them writers like himself, who were sent by the U.S. to areas of Latin America, Asia, and Africa between 1869 and the 1930s. Their writings and work on international diplomacy helped shape how the U.S. approached racial diplomacy. But you know, the interesting thing is that, you see, that's why I like going to sources. Like some of these people, when you're reading the thing, they have no dog in this fight. They just tell you what happened. Finish. You know, but sometimes you read other people's work and they're trying to bend history, you can see history through their eyes. But if you go to the American Colonization Society, I mean, they're just like, this thing happened. This thing happened.
African Repository. Yes, go to
Yes.
the.
You know, you don't have to say, oh, you know, let me make up this, or let me bring my own point of view. They just tell you. Now, we discussed one time about how do you know when something is authentic.
Yeah.
And we talk about fair representation. And we said that, you know, if something happens and people say, well, how many people were there? And you say, oh, you know, there were about 50 people. And the next group says, yeah, you know, there were about 55 or 60. But if somebody come and say there were 700, then there's a discrepancy.
Yeah.
Something's wrong.
That's why triangulation is very much important in the process of history.
Yes. And we followed this. We followed this because 3 weeks ago, when we didn't even know about this, we didn't even find this one, we saw them asking for money to buy land in the Southwest because they wanted to have occupation there. And then we come and we say, oh, the people got the money. So you see, there's a progression of history that we're following. Yeah. And then Massey Main said, was there anything of value? Well, first of all, whether there was something of value or not, it was our territory. It was purchased. It was purchased by Liberia with money. It wasn't taken. This one, they got money. So, and when you say specific value, yes, because if you look at Ellis's work, I don't want to do it before I get off. I'll post. It says that Calhoun or whatever, that district between Liberia and Sierra Leone, it was filled with minerals, rich minerals. And that's what the British government wanted. So I would urge you to get the article. We're going to post the source. Read the article. You know, Dr. Kashoni, Peace to His Ashes, was a phenomenal historian. You know, Dr. Kashoni.
And the thing about the Ellis piece, he said the wealth and wonder of Africa drew a lot of these European countries and what have you to the country, to the continent.
Yes.
So virtually every piece of the land had inviting natural resource benefits that drew these people.
And the money that they took from there is what is maintaining families now, dynasties.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about the wealth that was taken from the global south, India, Asia, Africa, and you think that it is still continuing because these people built dynasties on the wealth from these countries, you know, and then you say, oh, like the black people, they're talking about reparations, what they want to do. Surely there must be some recompense.
Yes.
Even if you say there was nothing in Africa, even if you have this mindset that you say there was nothing in Africa, men, women, and children were used as human cargo and as labor to build another country, a continent, not just another country, continents. So that in itself If you say there was no value to Africa, that in itself was value. And that's what we always say. Slaves were not taken from Africa. Men, women, and children were taken from Africa and turned into slaves when they got there.
Yeah.
So people should not say that, oh, it happened so long ago. So no, acknowledge and then move on. And that's what we're saying. History is very important because you need to know where you're coming from before you can even start to say, okay, now I'm planning where to go. Now, if you think about the hardship that Liberia went through, how they fought, how they were taken to League of Nations, how they had to beg, how even the ministers were saying, these people are savages, nothing will come out of it. Then you say to yourself, this little country has really fought to stand on its own. And even though things are difficult now, how dare we say to ourselves or out loud that, oh, I wish America can come and take over the country? Why would that even come when these people who had nothing at that time fought so America can even come? They said, no, we don't want you here. We're going to fight. And now you, with all your technology, you are saying, oh, no, we're going to throw our hands up and just give it to them. No, that wouldn't happen.
It's like going for the low-hanging fruit, and it must not happen.
It would not happen, Prof. So anyway, we're going to post this article. You can go and read it. And George Willis was a phenomenal writer. Yeah. He just went through step by step. Yeah. In fact, we didn't even go through half of it because then he started talking about the loan. Yeah. The loan the Liberia took, how we suffer for that loan, So read about it. Maybe until next week. If you read, you can help us and we can come back and talk about the loan, and then you can follow the discussion and then you can start adding your 2 cents or join us so you can talk about the loan that they gave to Liberia. I think the British people were very mean to us. But anyway, Prof, we've come to the end of our thing. Oh, and James, here is the article. You will need to have access to it, but I'm going to post it for all of you. Share it, read it, and learn about our history. Dynamic factors in the Liberian situation. Yeah. So there it is. And Prof, what say you?
No, again, I have no misgiving in chiming what must be seen as one of the themes of or in fact, the overarching theme of our work here, which is the need to respect the art of research. Research is important to literature. Research is important to history. Unless we understand ourselves, we cannot explain ourselves. And if we cannot explain ourselves and allow others to explain us, even in a lopsided fashion, they are going to explain us and it will not get us anywhere. It will frustrate us more. We must be prepared to write our own history.
Yes.
We must be able to do that. And unless we draw on history, we cannot so eloquently write about ourselves.
Like I say, when I went to the University of Kumasi, Kwame Nkrumah University, they have historians. No one person, Prof, you and I discussed this, no one person owns history. Mm-hmm. You have these practitioners getting together with historians, with experts, going through things and say, okay, yeah, this one is correct. What do you think about this? What do you think? I, as I said to you, there was a young guy, he was beating the drum, the talking drum. And the older man said to him, no, on this side, you have to go slow. You have to do this. And you could see him teaching. But so many times, some people feel like, oh, if I share information, this person will become better, not better, but more powerful than me, or they will do this. No, we need to write history, to write. When I say write, I mean RIGHT, write our history. And we can do that by getting together. There's some noise here. By getting together to discuss this. I agree with James. We need to even talk to our old people
Mm.
to say, tell us this. Yeah. So anyway, I want to say thank you
Yeah.
to all of you for joining us. James, I'm glad you're here. We're here every Friday at 6 o'clock. It's called the Literary Hour. But sometimes we do history as well because Prof and I, we really love history. But
Yes.
it's called the Literary Hour at 6 o'clock. So please share the show. Let others come on share the show also. And if you feel like there's something you want us to research and you want us to discuss, feel free to send us an email at focusonliberia@gmail.com. And as always, we want to say thank you for joining us. And Prof and I will always say, lift Liberia up. We are the rooms. Liberia is the roof. Lift Liberia up. Things might be difficult now, but lift Liberia up. We are all Liberians. And it behoves all of us to lift our country up in prayers, in our words, and in our deeds. So thank you for joining us. We hope you can join us again next week. We say stay blessed, stay safe, and we'll see you next week, Prof. We'll see you next week. Okay, we're all Liberians. Don't ever forget that. Yes. And thank you, Elijah Johnson. And thank you, George Willis. Thanks, Prof.
We are
Stay well.
Liberia is our home. Liberia people. We are Liberia.